It's going to be very difficult to fix the deficit with just changes in taxes and spending. But it's probably why Bitcoin is kind of interesting here, because it's potentially a treasury reserve asset. And, as if Bitcoin rises in price, it actually helps offset the liabilities, which is the deficit.
So you were at 150, I think, on Bitcoin, weren't you? But
yeah.
Not necessarily by the end of this year, or?
I think 6 figures is still possible for it before the end of the year, yeah.
And then more next year and the year after?
Yeah, I think because now, post-halving and now Bitcoin's becoming a lot more relevant, and I think maybe the regulatory overhang is diminishing, that there's a lot of upside from here, yes.
We have Thomas Lee talking in this video here. We have more of this before we end this video, so make sure you watch to the end. Before we get started, go ahead and check us out at Bitcoin Bros 26 on Twitter, but also BitcoinBros101.com. All of our learning, social links, premium Patreon pass is what's in store for you. BitcoinBros101.com. Getting straight into it, take a look at MicroStrategy. We've been showing you this every single day, so why not keep reporting on it? You guys love it, so do we. Are you buying the stock? Bitcoin Bros like it. So look here, we're coming up and hitting our head at the bottom of the Gaussian channel and just stair-stepping our way up. Nothing's changed. We actually came back down and retested the 20 moving average, and right now, over the next few months, things could start to ramp up because we are in new all-time high territory. And as you see here, if this RSI continues to put a higher high, and we haven't got too overbought yet, as you see, we made up to the 77 range. If we look back into the right, when we get extremely overbought, it gets up to those levels over the 80 range. So we haven't got there yet, with the low of that being 82. Haven't got quite that high yet, so there's still some room for the upside. 270 at the current time of closing, but if you want to get the current stock price, check it out on Robinhood. You can see the active after hours price. You can see what happens. 271 roughly the current time it's recording. MicroStrategy Bitcoin comparative. We showed you this. We showed you this symmetrical triangle, this bull pennant. We showed you this target, but we also could be having some type of micro bull pennant right here as well that we're getting ready to break out of. And when we see a breakout of this, we would have a technical target almost up to the exact target of the mega bull pennant. So it's a little bit lower, but as you see, there's more room for the upside to grow. At the current time it's recording, Bitcoin's coming in at 76.6K right below, and you see the RSI just continues to stair step its way up, and we are not in overbought territory yet. The next few months could get very, very bullish. As you see, we broke out of this channel. We back tested it once, twice, blast off, and over the next 90 days, could Bitcoin see that 6-figure mark that Tom Lee's talking about? Most definitely. Breaking news, the SEC Commissioner Mark Uyeda says the Commission's war on crypto must end. So as this Bitcoin crypto journey continues to grow and mass adoption continues to happen, the Securities and Exchange Commission are getting in line. Gary Gensler's out of there. What's coming next? Better prepare. And as you see, we hit a new all-time high today, 77K. Bitcoin is in price discovery. Once again, the next 3 months could be extremely, extremely bullish. Without further ado, let's hear the latest from Tom Lee.
Join us now on the markets. Tom Lee, Head of Research at Fundstrat Global Advisors, Chief Investment Officer at Fundstrat Capital, and the list goes on and on. Andy's a CNBC contributor. First post-election appearance that we've had. You knew Trump was going to win.
Well,
not many people did.
Yes, that's.
I'll give you credit. Are you saying you didn't? Maybe you didn't say it in so many words, but you said it.
Yes, I'd say that we were placing a lot more weight on what the betting markets were pointing to, and so and we. When we look at all the deltas,
and you saw it in the Trump trade, yes. And you saw it in Bitcoin,
correct,
and you saw it in sectors of the market that would benefit from.
That's right.
Presumably, but who knows from a Trump presidency? So 1,500 points a meet out of the gate. More to come, or are we're already there?
I think we need to respect this move. I mean, there was a tremendous rally post-election, and it continued yesterday. I think it really does reflect a lot of money was taken out of the market because of the uncertainty around the election. And now we know that because of policy changes and animal spirits, that this is really going to benefit things like Bitcoin and small caps and regional banks and financials. So I do think there's still a lot of upside. I mean, small caps trade at 10 times median forward earnings. I mean, that's a
So what do you think that should be? 12 times? And what's the opportunity set in your mind?
Well, since 1987, small caps traded on a median PE basis at a premium to the S&P. The S&P is at 17 times. So I think small caps could, in the next couple years, outperform by more than 100%.
And what do you think about some of the macro issues that I think create a different level of uncertainty? We keep talking about the bond market and what that might be saying, what you think is happening with gold. Are the bond vigilantes going to be this governor on whatever you think is going to happen in Washington?
As James Carville famously said, the bond market everyone's scared of the bond market. So that is something we need to watch. But we've had plenty of periods where stocks have risen with bonds rising. And I kind of agree with Powell's assessment that yields have gone up not because of inflation, but because there's sort of a change in growth expectations.
I thought that a sweep was, for either party, was the death knell for the markets and frightening to all involved. And now we're getting a sweep. Why isn't it more frightening? Maybe a sweep the other way would have been a little more frightening to some.
I mean, I think part of the reason investors are getting somewhat optimistic is that President Trump is entering office again, but this time with a lot more knowledge of how to build a cabinet and a team. And so in some ways, this would end up being more market friendly. And I think that's why investors are becoming optimistic. I mean, I kind of agree with the idea that there are animal spirits growing.
He'll never be deficit friendly, will he? I mean, he will be deficit friendly. He won't be, if we cut taxes on tips, Social Security, overtime, remove the SALT cap, extend the tax cuts. If you do all those things, that seems like
it's going to be very difficult to fix the deficit with just changes in taxes and spending. But it's probably why Bitcoin is kind of interesting here, because it's potentially a treasury reserve asset. And, if Bitcoin rises in price, it actually helps offset the liabilities, which is the deficit.
So you were at 150, I think, on Bitcoin, weren't you? But
yeah.
Not necessarily by the end of this year, or?
I think six figures is still possible before the end of the year, yeah.
And then more next year and the year after.
Yeah, I think because now, post-halving and now Bitcoin's becoming a lot more relevant, and I think maybe the regulatory overhang is diminishing, that there's a lot of upside from here, yes.
Okay, S&P, end of next year.
Well, between now and year end, 5 to 10% is probably the base case, just because that's the type of rally post-election, and we have a dovish Fed and, the normal seasonals.
Is that the right move right now for the Fed?
I think inflation fighting war is largely over, and the real rate is still too high. So I agree with Fed's view that we need to move towards neutral, which is towards 3%. So I think it is supportive of markets, and business investment has been constrained. So I think these things are positive.